India Business Council, and it is my very great pleasure today to present this webinar to you today to meet our Trade Minister, the Honourable Simon Birmingham, on this exciting topic of moving forward to Australia-India trade and emerging opportunities. Now, before I commence the proceedings and the welcome to our Minister, I'd like to first acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we have gathered on today in every part of our nation here in Australia. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples across our nation here in Australia. Can I also take this opportunity to just formally welcome Minister Simon Birmingham, who will be giving us a keynote address, but can also just do some remind you some straight housekeeping, and that is our speakers have already been advised to speak only when they're ready to speak, and that all our registrants that are listening here today will be on mute. But if time permits, you may put your question on the Zoom Q&A. Even if we don't answer it in the half an hour allocated to us, we will answer it after the webinar. So I look forward to that. And can I just, by way of background, say that we have received a very good response of 238 registrations with a visibility of 200 business communities and 15,000 plus people before the event and post the events. Registrations include Indian businesses and Australian businesses based in India as well as in Australia, and I welcome our India counterparts particularly. The event is also being streamed on Facebook, and the recording will be kept on Facebook and YouTube. Now, in terms of what we expect from a webinar like this, following the virtual Australian and Indian Prime Minister Summit held in June, 9 comprehensive strategic partnership agreements were signed, with the unanimous message being the time is ripe now for bilateral engagement. The momentum of bilateral trade between Australia and India has gathered in many sectors, including agriculture, advanced manufacturing and health, including the pharmaceutical industry, and further dialogues are taking place. This session today, with the encouragement of Minister Birmingham, is a special interactive webinar session, Make in India and Healthcare, a bilateral success story, which my colleagues from Medsurge Healthcare would only be too pleased to present. So on behalf of the Australia-India Business Council, we're the only premier non-profit organisation with a mission to promote trade dialogue between Australia and India through nurturing the bilateral relationship. I would like now to kick off today's proceedings, and I'd like to call on the first of our layout as we're speaking, and I'd like to now ask if Medsurge would like to show their video clip. So over to you, Kam.
Founded in 2007 by Mr. Kam Phulwani, Medsurge is an Australian-based, globally integrated pharmaceutical development and manufacturing company. Today, Medsurge has emerged as one of the key pharmaceutical companies in Australia, servicing over 900 specialised medicines to 1,000 hospitals and 6,500 pharmacies nationally. Medsurge was born with commitment to healthcare and mission statement of "We value life." The journey of Medsurge, from humble beginnings to carving a niche in the market, is based on the premise of creating a better, healthier world for all people. With a passion for innovation inspiring him to address the health challenges in Australia, Kam set up operations in Mulgrave, the heart of Melbourne's southeastern suburbs. The Australian product manufacturing industry has seen favourable demand over the past 5 years, including growing healthcare needs of an ageing population and increasing incidence of chronic disease. Medsurge navigated the Australian environment successfully to deliver annualised growth of more than 30% year on year. Medsurge has established a robust brand and reputation working with a range of major clients, partners and stakeholders. Medsurge proudly collaborates with reputable industry partners like Therapeutic Good Administration, state governments, Department of Health and Human Services, AmCal, Chemist Warehouse and DHL. As a trusted brand, Medsurge holds itself in the highest possible standards in every aspect of its operations. In order to improve efficiency and demonstrate commitment to quality, in 2019, Medsurge has achieved regulatory approvals including the ISO 9001/2015. In 2019, Medsurge has acquired a pharmaceutical manufacturing site in Bangalore, the Garden City of India. Spread across a 5 acres plot in Hosur, Tamil Nadu, in the outskirts of Bangalore, the manufacturing site is a sterile injectable facility that manufactures high-quality liquid sterile formulations. It has an integrated ampoule line and glass vial line. The manufacturing site has in-house world-class 5,000 square feet R&D facility to test and develop injectable formulations. The facility is capable of manufacturing both aseptically filled and terminally sterilized products. The annual capacity of manufacturing site is to produce 36 million vials and 72 million ampoules per year. The site has approvals from US FDA, EU GMP Hungary and Health Canada. Adding to its strength, a team of 360 qualified workers are currently manufacturing products for markets such as UK, Europe, Canada, Australia and USA. Innovation, customer centricity, quality attributes and cost-cutting efficiency ensure that Medsurge remains among the most trusted and reliable names in the Australian pharmaceutical market.
What an excellent video and an example of Make in India and a chapter success story. I'd like now to invite Kam Phulwani to make a presentation. And of course, your business partner and spouse, Reith, is a very active member of the Australia-India Business Council. Over to you.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, friends and colleagues of Australia-India Business Council. I feel privileged to address such an outstanding audience on behalf of my company, and I would like to thank you to both our Trade Minister, the Honourable Senator Simon Birmingham, and the AIBC National Chair, Mr. Jim Varghese, for the opportunity to be here today. It's an absolute honor to share Medsurge's success story to all of you. As shown in our video, Medsurge has grown exceptionally since its inception and is well poised to become a key pharmaceutical manufacturing and export hub, outstanding potential to further strengthen the deep bilateral trade between Australia and India. However, these are challenging times. COVID-19 has profoundly highlighted Australia's dependency on importing pharmaceuticals at a time when the world's supply chains are under enormous pressure. During this pandemic, the pharmaceutical industry has been put under extraordinary pressure with supply shortages of key medicines, placing the health of vulnerable people at increased risk. In some cases, Medsurge had to step in to serve patients in the dire need of critical medicines they could not find through normal retail channels. I can assure you that our team did not leave a stone unturned, and we have been able to help those vulnerable Australian patients. Having said that, this is a long-term structural one, which requires a coordinated solution between governments and industry. Research from the Institute of Integrated Economics highlighted the difficulties of supplying medicines here in Australia. Australia imports 90% of medicine, where 1/3 of the prescriptions, one of the patients reliant on the daily prescriptions. Considering the current international environment, it is imperative that we need work to create domestic pharmaceutical manufacturing site right here in Australia. Given this strategic importance, it is imperative for the government officials and health institutions to consider a pharmaceuticals a national stockpile similar to oil, fuel, and other critical important commodities. Geopolitical instability, as well as high risk of future pandemic, we need a domestic solution now. Looking to the future post-COVID-19, and with our national interest at heart, Medsurge has accumulated a wealth of knowledge from customers, international markets, manufacturing, sourcing, and distribution operations. At Medsurge, We have learned a great deal on efficient pharmaceutical manufacturing through our Indian facilities, which are keen to leverage and create a world-class pharmaceutical manufacturing hub right here in Australia. Our mission is very simple. We want to assist in, if not eliminate, shortages to critical medicines, therefore ensuring Australia's self-sufficiency in critical medicines, create new job opportunities in line with federal government's objectives for the post-COVID-19 recovery, ensure sustainable pharmaceutical supply to service Australia's national demand. We are planning a new R&D facility for the development of life-saving medicines and treatments. This will foster collaboration between Australia and Indian research institutions in cutting-edge scientific discoveries to improve the health and well-being of our two nations. And finally, we want to make sure Australia a leading exporter of medicines, making the most of the growing demand in global pharmaceutical goods to further facilitate domestic economic recovery. Aside these extraordinary challenges, I believe that the pandemic has given us a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to turn the tide and deliver much-needed critical domestic manufacturing side. Medsurge stands ready to make this happen and looks forward to working with our Australian government colleagues to make this vision a reality. I would like to thank you all, and particularly Mr. Birmingham, for your attention, and reiterate the business like Medsurge are ready and willing to partner with the governments to ensure sustainable and resilient economic growth, domestic jobs, serve our national security, and deliver on Australia's exports ambitions in this critical sector. Thank you very much again, and I wish all you a very pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, Kam, and let's surge ahead with Medsurge. It's now my very great pleasure to introduce the Honourable Simon Birmingham, the Federal Minister for Trade. His profile is on your screen, and can I say that, having engaged with the Minister over the last few years, he's done an outstanding job as our Minister promoting the bilateral trade between Australia and India. So over to you, Minister, for your keynote address to us. We look forward to it.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. It's wonderful to be with the Australia-India Business Council again, and thank you for bringing together this forum, particularly in these very, very challenging times that we all face, and particularly to those who are facing more difficult circumstances at this time, be they in India, Melbourne, or elsewhere. My heart goes out to you, and our thoughts are with you all to stay safe and stay well. It was great to hear, though, Kam's very positive presentation and a demonstration of the opportunities that continue to exist as we all strive for innovation and realisation of the immense opportunities in the Australia-India relationship. One thing that this audience very much clearly has in common is that appreciation of the strength of opportunity between our trade and investment relationship. I don't need to convince the AIBC members of India's promise of those economic opportunities. And this is a forum where the commitment is one that is a shared commitment to the relationship, to be able to make practical gains and to stay on course. And certainly companies like Medsurge provide a demonstration of the headway that is being made. As you all know, since I last had the opportunity to speak with AIBC in-person format, much has happened. I won't dwell on the COVID aspects, but I do want to dwell on the elevation of the Australia-India relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership that was signed in our Leaders Virtual Summit that took place in June. Prime Minister Morrison had been so eager to fulfil the promise of a bilateral visit to India and to be able to cement that relationship with Prime Minister Modi. Unfortunately, bushfires, COVID meant that visit at varying times it was scheduled was unable to proceed with. But we did have the first ever virtual summit between our leaders, and with that, we elevated the relationship to the status of a comprehensive strategic partnership. Australia has such arrangements with only a select group of nations, signalling our desire for mutual understanding, our trust, in this case our shared values of democracy and law, and commitment to re-energise all aspects of our relationship especially the upward trajectory in our economic partnership. We see the CSP as an opportunity to build on strategies that we've deployed and implemented over recent times and continue to do so. The work, Jim, that you lead that has led us in the direction of seeing some 25 practical initiatives being pursued as a nation, helping to deepen and integrate our relationship with India. There's no doubting the challenges that exist at present. Challenges that exist, as I said, in relation to COVID and other pressures. But I want to acknowledge that through these challenges, we do still continue to see positive glimmers. I want to acknowledge the major reforms that India has been making in areas of its agricultural produce marketing, its tax system, its labour regulations. These are important reforms to build the confidence for economic recovery that all nations need to have. And certainly as we seek to drive and extend investment between Australia and India, we really look to see the opportunity realised there of a more efficient and faster growing recovery in India that can spur on growth across the rest of the region and the world. Because the long-term trajectory and the structural drivers of the Indian economy remain incredibly sound and solid. Its youthful demographics, its burgeoning consumer base, the appetite for infrastructure development, and those continued reforms are all crucial fundamentals that have seen our two-way trade double in the past 5 years and investment flows also double. And while the pandemic has taken its toll on aspects of these figures, we are committed to revitalise those trade flows as quickly as we can, and of course, to ensuring that our investment fuels one another's recovery. I want more Australian businesses, from SMEs through to our largest players, to understand India and to consider it actively in their recovery strategies. That education piece remains a central part of our strategy in terms of how to enliven the relationship and to maximise the opportunities for trade and investment growth. I'm pleased the Australia-India Council will soon relaunch its 2020 grants round to help support institutional and people-to-people ties for our economic relationship. This round of the Australia-India Strategic Research Fund is targeting collaborative Australian and Indian research focused on the COVID-19 pandemic. It can hopefully help us both in terms of our knowledge to build our recovery and to ensure that we are all stronger into the future. We've been working to rebuild and also to reconnect international air freight routes this year through our international freight assistance mechanism, using hubs and linkages where we possibly can. And this sort of work is crucial to get us through the pandemic, but then to stay the course in terms of the longer-term relationship. So I know we have an engaging forum planned for this afternoon in terms of some questions and some exchanges. I thank you all once again for the chance to be with you, to say a brief few words and particularly to celebrate the huge accomplishment that is Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, which will now help to inform all aspects of our strategic relationship, our cooperation, our business-business ties, and our people-to-people links that are so important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for that very excellent address. And we'll now move to our questions and answers of moving forward in India-Australia trade and emerging opportunities. And let us kick off with our first question from our panelist, and that is Vish, whose profile is there with you. He's our chair of Make in India, and he's going to ask a question relating to free trade agreement. Over to you, Vish.
Good evening, Honourable Minister. And I was there in Delhi when you successfully launched the AIBC program. And since then, I've been following almost every day what you have been talking about promoting trade in many countries, especially India. And also following the virtual meeting of the two prime ministers, great momentum has happened. And but at the same time, we have short-term and long-term strategies. So in line with that, what are the possibilities of achieving a limited free trade agreement with India to boost bilateral opportunities in manufacturing, agriculture, and more lately, as even today, you talked about green hydrogen. And so if it is not possible, what are the challenges and how they will be managed?
Thank you so much, Vish, and thank you for participating in the Australia-India Business Exchange earlier this year. It seems like a world and a lifetime ago that I led that delegation, more than 100 from Australia to India, where we fanned out and spoke and engaged so passionately across the various areas of economic and development opportunity between Australia and India. But certainly it was a wonderful initial AIBX, and Australia remains very committed to that format and to that ongoing engagement into the future. And I trust that those various participants who were there got benefit from it, and hopefully, COVID notwithstanding, have been able to realise some of the trade and investment opportunities that we were highlighting. You're right, the CSP does commit our countries to re-engage in discussions around the potential, at least, for an FTA or a closer economic cooperation agreement. I welcome that. Nothing would give me greater pleasure than for us to be able to conclude a comprehensive and ambitious free trade agreement between Australia and India. And I had hoped that we may be able to do so under the auspices of RCEP, but I understand and respect India's desire not to proceed with RCEP for a range of concerns that I think were unrelated to the Australia-India aspect of negotiations. And I would like to see us be able to take what we were close to achieving there and at least achieve it in a bilateral exchange. But trade agreement negotiations are always challenging, and the proposals such as those for a more limited FTA or an earlier small agreement present some opportunities, but also some challenges as to how we make sure it's an agreement that is in everybody's best interests to achieve, rather than simply picking out some of the areas of interest of one party to remove. So we will step forward in good faith, seeking, as Australia always does, to try to open up trade relationships with key parties. India is obviously a standout nation in terms of those with whom we do not currently have an FTA in place. I would love for us to be able to rectify that. We will certainly pursue that in good faith to the best of our ability, and hope that we can find similar reciprocal engagement from India that enables us to move forward, potentially in a staged approach, but with confidence that it will ultimately be a comprehensive agreement.
Thank you, Minister. We have less than about 6 minutes to complete this con, so I'm going to change the format slightly and ask you to describe 3 words for me that would describe the relationship you'd like to see with the Minister and AIBC in relation to your biosecurity question. So over to you.
Good afternoon, Trade Minister Birmingham. Thank you for your time today. As you can see, my question was based on biosecurity. The issues that we have between Australia and any other nation is the barriers that you do have at the time of entry. So biosecurity is a big issue, and to strengthen our trading relationship with India, can the Australian government consider funding a bilateral exchange program for biosecurity experts from Australia and India for 12 months? That's basically the question.
Thanks, Con. Before you answer, Minister, I'll ask Tanya Unni, who's seen profile, to do exactly the same thing and describe briefly, 3 words, your key question. And then I'll ask the Minister to respond to both, and that will get us back on time. So over to you, Tanya. You there, Tanya? Okay, Minister, do you want to answer the comment on Con's comment first?
Sure, thanks, Jim. Thank you, Con. Well, Australian and Indian biosecurity officials share quite a strong relationship already, but I understand the frustration at times of the progress, or occasionally slow progress, around getting breakthroughs in some of those biosecurity barriers. I've been pleased that India approved new markets for Australian walnuts in 2018, approved trade facilitating treatment options for fruits and malting barley just this year in 2020. And in return, Australia has approved access for table grapes in 2018. And this month, we've finalised approvals so that pomegranates can now begin to be being exported from India to Australia. We've importantly, though, also helped to build capacity, provide training in horticulture treatment techniques for Indian government biosecurity officials, akin to the type of, at least, capacity building that your question focuses on. So I think there's good momentum there in that regard around the biosecurity relationship. It owes to strong relationships, to regular exchanges around technical capabilities, and certainly we're committed to continuing that. I'll take your idea of an exchange on board there, but I think we do have now quite strong ongoing processes that hopefully can speed that up in the future.
Thanks, Minister. Tanya Unni, you there?
Yes, I'm here, yes.
Okay, you want to quickly make your comment, and as we're running out of time, so over to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Minister. My question is, how can we take advantage of the challenges that we have existing in India due to COVID-19 into real investment opportunities, especially in the health sector?
Especially in which sector? Sorry, especially in which sector?
Health, in the health sector.
Health sector. Look, I think COVID is going to reimagine a number of different areas of business engagement, and clearly in areas of digital and e-commerce activities, huge potential that stem across a range of fields, but including in health in terms of the opportunities for digital and electronic treatment services and consultations, where in Australia we've seen huge expansion of delivery using e-health techniques. And I think there's enormous opportunity for us to work with partner countries that can enable specialisation and treatment to extend in a more cost-effective way into more communities and reach more individuals effectively. Equally, the understanding that comes out of COVID to build research collaboration in how we establish greater resilience to these types of challenges in the future will be crucial, and I would anticipate that may well be part of the type of project offerings that our research funding will look at as to how we can, with each other, help to build stronger lines of resilience and defence for the future through the exploration of work there. And lastly, look, I think the incredible work being taken around the world at present around vaccine development and deployment being done at scale, and the enormity of that scientific endeavour again provides scope for closer collaboration between partner countries like Australia and India to understand how the lessons that we will have out of vaccine development for COVID can be extended in terms of the deployment of vaccines more effectively across large population bases like India, and the development of new vaccines faster, with the capacity to bring them to market quicker and capacity to achieve cost-effective scale options in the future. So I think there are many exciting opportunities to try to look to out of the great sphere and challenge that COVID has brought.
Thank you very much, Minister. And now we draw close to the end of this webinar. I'd like to invite Deepa Matthew, the South Australian AIBC President, to deliver a vote of thanks and close. Deepa, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister, for your insights, and we look forward as AIBC to more collaboration with trade between India and Australia. Thank you so much for your time, Honourable Simon Birmingham, Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment. Thank you, Jim Varghese, our National Chair, and our AIBC for moderating the webinar today. Thank you, Kam Phulwani, Founder and CEO of Medsurge. Vish Viswanathan, Chair of the AIBC Make in India Industry Chapter. Con Livissianis, Chair of the AIBC Agribusiness Industry Chapter. and Dr. Tanya Unni, Chair of the AIBC Healthcare Industry Chapter. Also, thanks to our sponsors today, Harsh Shah from Deloitte and Shanushka Siomangal from Thomas Gear. Now, this would not have happened without the support of all our admin and IT support. So, Vish Viswanathan, AIBC Victoria Management Committee member, Karishma Serene, our AIBC Victoria Secretariat, Wendy Farrell, our AIBC National Secretariat, Vishal Kumar, Director of Quantana, Technology Manager and Digital Marketing, and Silvana Livissianis, support of the Agribusiness Chair. So thank you to everyone who joined us today, and we look forward to our collaboration in the future.
Thank you, Deepa. And as we close, I just want one more slide to announce our next event, the Agribusiness webinar on October the 1st. So if you could have that on the screen, and I'd invite you all to join that. And of course, Deepa, it's really great to see you take the reins in South Australia. I think we're going to see a real energization in South Australia. And of course, Minister, you are from South Australia, so she draws inspiration from you. So on that note of advertising the webinar, is that coming on the screen, Vishal? Right, we will send that to you. There have been 6 questions on Q&A, which we will consult, Minister, with you on as we give answers after this webinar. Can I thank you once again for joining us, and we now close this webinar and look forward to the next one with you. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you.
Well, once again, namaste.